is the
economic position of women.
yeah. I don't know why it looks like that.
Okay. So, our main topic we're researching was how does the economic position of women affect, yeah. So for the introduction, we said the definition for environment is the social, physical, and cultural forces that shape the life of a person or population. Today we will be discussing how the environment of 3 different countries, Ethiopia, China, and the US, affect the economic position of women in these countries. We start off with countries in Africa, and we chose 2 countries, Ethiopia and Ghana. And we chose that because it's the third most populous country in Africa, with majority of the population living in absolute poverty. And we did views on women in Ethiopia. Women is basically seen as like a housewife, and they like have no social class above men. They're like basically at the bottom of the trend. They do all the housework, they work, and they don't get half of the amount of money men get. And yeah, that's basically that one. And then we also focus on how the climate changes affect women's position in agriculture. Most of these occur with flooding, volcanoes and stuff, droughts and stuff, and women tends to work more in fields than men, so they have more responsibilities and stuff. And Ethiopia has faced numerous long-term droughts in the recent decades, while Ghana experienced fewer droughts. So basically, Ghana is more at the top. And we also focus on the education system. Children in Ethiopia, especially if they're girls, tend to have a lesser education than male for some reason, because most of them drop out of school to help in fields and stuff. So they basically don't have a high level of education. And
So I did mine in Asia, and it's on China. And what is the economic position of women in Asia? So the role women play in China is very unequal to the men of China. Many females still don't have equal opportunities such as what males have. And women are entitled to having their own property or inherit land. They are mainly engaged in farming or horticulture, and they still get little recognition for that. Many go unpaid, and it's difficult for them, especially with financial aid, because they can't get financial aid easily, considering their position. And China doesn't accept the fact that there's a change in the traditional roles today in society, so they're like still back. Right. How does government policies affect the position of women in China? Well, the government is strict on one certain role. They have one policy that's really strict, and it's the one-child policy. Women are allowed to have girls, but they can have another child as long as it's a boy. If it's going to be a girl, then the girl has to be killed, which is like really wrong. And this goes like, it gives you an idea about like how China thinks about like the male population, because they want the male population to keep on growing, and like women, they want to just like keep them at like a short amount in the population, and it makes men like seem more superior towards women. Right, the economic position of women in society. they're often less paid than men when they're doing the same work. And their belief in strong women for not being allowed, they're not allowed to be looked at as superior because the men are supposed to be superior because they're strong and they're supposed to be smarter, but that's not really the case because both are actually equal and they're both smart and they can do whatever, you know, they want. And to find a relationship, it's hard for them because their partners, like they look at the family background, and if the family background doesn't have like a really good reputation, then the males are not gonna want to marry that female. And then the females are really judged by their looks as well, because if they're not like beautiful as they want them to be, then they're not gonna be married. And they also want them to give them like a male child, so the family tree can keep on going for like males, so they can like keep marrying women, and then once they have a boy again, then that boy can inherit whatever they have. And this, you go on the next slide. And Asian countries' views on women, their general long histories are like prejudice against women, and it's always been like a male-dominated culture, so it dates back to a long history, like in the 1300s and so on. And this raises awareness about women's superior position in China.
Well, I can so the third country that the third continent we looked at was North America, and we focused on the United States. The physical environment affects the position of women in the United States because the U.S. is the third largest country in the world in both area and population. Because of the U.S.'s like large area, the climate and physical land features vary like pretty drastically depending on what part of the country you're in, whether north, south, east, or west. And this allows women to choose which environment best suits the needs for them and their family. They're both, the United States has both urban and rural areas. Urban areas have both benefits and risks to them because urban areas increase the risk of danger, but they also make healthcare more accessible and give women a wider variety for education, employment, and marriage. And but the large population opens up a lot of job opportunities. Women make up 40% of the U.S. workforce, and this shows that the women, like, the amount of women in the workforce is almost equal to that of men, slightly less than half. Another factor of the environment that affects the position of women in the United States is the educational environment. The U.S. provides free education through high school for everyone. This gives all genders and races equal opportunity for an education, and this gives women the ability to compete with men in the workforce. It gives them the knowledge and the education that they need. And 11.3 million women attended college as of 2012, which made up 56.8% of the college student population, which is more than half. and 25% of those women have special degrees or certifications. The economic environment of the U.S. also plays a role because a formal education gives women more opportunities to succeed economically. And the United States is the second richest country in the world, and it is very industrialized, which gives it the access to more resources that eliminates the need for like manual labor, which is usually done by women. It allows us access to ample food and water and other necessities, and since the women don't have to do these jobs, it gives them it gives them an opportunity to get higher paying jobs. Our conclusion is that the economic position of women varies in different parts of the world. Women in less developed countries are generally mostly responsible for taking care of the basic needs for their families and have less opportunity for educational and economic advancement. In developed nations, there is less need for women to perform manual labor, which allows them to improve more economically. However, prejudice against women will more than likely always exist no matter what part of the country you're in. And that's it.
I have a question.
Well, I'll leave it until the end.
It's okay. So the United States is the second richest country in the world. What's the first?
China.
China? Wow. They big.
Actually, I had a couple questions.
Yes.
First, is urban crime, you mentioned that it's high in the United States for women. Is that also true in China and Ethiopia? Were you able to find that out?
For mine, it wasn't.
Okay, do you think there's a reason for that? Why it would not be a problem in China, but it is in the United States?
Well, well, the United States has like a larger population, and and also because the United States is like very diverse, that can allow for a chance for more like prejudice, which could also influence like crime and stuff.
Okay. And what did you think was the strongest factor in terms of the role of women in these countries and why it differed? If you had to pick one, what do you think is the strongest?
I would say education.
Yeah, education.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? I'm sorry.
Do you have a question?
Donovan, do you have a... Okay.
What made you choose Ethiopia?
I mean, we were trying to find countries. Mostly I chose it because it was like the third popular country in Africa.
Do you know what the first two are?
No.
Oh.
No. Well, we also chose it because we were like looking. We wanted to do Africa, and we were looking at like some of like the popular like countries with like a lot of poverty.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Did you find how since we have less land that's used for farming in the United States, did you find that the more industrial jobs made women more rich in this country than the other two?
Well, I mean, it's not so much as well, it's like. Wow, that's a hard question. Okay, because we have like, I guess because the industrial costs more, so they have to pay more to work, you know.
Okay.
Plus also inflation, since we are a richer country, so we get paid more regardless. Yes. John.
Oh, John. Okay. As you, I hear you mention the patriarchal society of China, and you say that there's like there are more men in China. For right now, the current time, which is I don't know. But do you think because there are fewer women in China, do you think their positions will get better now?
Of
Because
course
everyone
not.
needs a woman.
Well, no, because I mean, since the men population it's so great right now, it's gonna keep on going, and you know, communism takes a big role in it because everyone in the government for China is basically male, so it's still gonna be inferior to women.
Yes,
Okay, now I have a question. So, do you think that since men looking at women look at their background, look at their family's background, do you think
Alex,
that
why are
might,
you turning around? That's rude.
okay. Do you think that might, do you think that might play a part in why there's less crime coming from a woman's?
Can you repeat that question?
Okay, so basically, like, since men are looking at the background of their family and the woman, the background in general,
In China.
in China,
Okay.
yeah, do you think that might play a part into why there isn't like a higher crime rate with women in China?
Well, yeah, because the men are very, like, they tend to be very picky. So, like, obvious, like, no, I mean, that's what.
No,
it's
I
sad.
understand.
So, like, that does play a role in crime. I mean, depends on what crime you're talking about.
No, I meant like in general, like
Um,
crime. Like stealing a cat, I mean, that.
what
No.
if, what if
I meant
gender?
like, I meant like in
What if
general,
gender-
I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, I meant like in general, like stealing,
No,
killing.
what if
It wouldn't have
gender?
anything to do with stealing.
I know, I was just thinking like crime in general.
I mean, gender doesn't have that much to do with crime.
Yeah, when they were
He says yeah.
Thank you, let's go.
Okay.
No, ask the question, Sean.
Oh.
No, that's what.
If there's more men than women, wouldn't all women be married because all men want to reproduce their family line?
well, not exactly, because you know how I said that they look at the backgrounds? Well, like when they want to marry someone like from a really good background, they look at how much they get paid and what's their like family status in China, and you know that like it plays a big role in that. So.
But if there's more men than women, it just seems like they would want to reproduce no matter like who the girl is.
They're picky. It's arranged marriages. Even like the parents who wanna, you know, want that certain person to marry that woman. So not all women get a chance.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.